Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brandon Schiafone, and I am a professional crash test dummy. Like literally, in the process of coming up into it, I ran into at least 4 things. It's kind of a phenomenon, really. I understand there's an audience member sitting behind me with a broken arm. Always nice to meet a fellow tester. I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for laughing, and let me tell you why. Because humor is a very big part of my life, but it wasn't always like that. I am one of the very few people, one of less than 1,000 in known medical history, to be born with a condition called Alström syndrome. It affects my hearing, my eyesight, it affects my organs, it can affect anything. And my brother and I are 2 of the 1,000 people. I know what you're thinking, we have not won the lottery just yet. We're working on it though, dreams do come true. But as I said, it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always like me being able to be humorous and take this with a grain of salt. When I was born, I had pretty decent vision. You know, I could read a book. I could kind of ride a bike, a little bit. I met a bush a time or two, I'll be honest. But I could get around. I didn't have to use a cane. But people still noticed. And of course, I don't blame the children, but they fear what they don't understand. And they stepped away from me. Alienation, whatnot. I felt like I was all alone. So I turned to the one place I felt like I could get some solace with no judgment. Books! Books became my best friend, and I could go home after a day of being alienated and being judged from people who would pretend to be my friend after school, but would go out of their way during the school hours to make sure they were not seen with me. And I went home and I could read stories of treasure and mystery and love and loss and freedom, and not have to worry about those books judging me for who I am. But I couldn't live that way forever. Around age 12, I said, you know what, Mom, Dad, I'm done with this. I gotta move on. I gotta find something bigger, something better. I can't live out my teenage years in solitary confinement. So what I said is, okay, a friend told me about this boarding school in Brantford, Ontario. It's for the blind and visually impaired. Can I please try it? And you know how mothers are. No. I understand, you don't want me to go away, but after a little convincing, she said, okay, fine. If it will make you happy, go try it. So I did. And I loved it. I loved it. This was a place where no judgment was happening. I could fit in. I could really step out of my shell. And I wanted to go there. I called my mom on the second day in her dismay. I said, Mom, I want to come. I want to come here. I want to do this. And you could just hear her disappointment over the phone. So how it worked is you went for a trial week. You went for 5 days. And if they thought that you would be a good fit, they'd invite you to come. And I went home. And I was eagerly awaiting the principal's call because I knew that I could fit in here. I knew they would love me. I knew I was a great student. I was such a nerd. I could fit in. There was no way they couldn't take me. And I sat there for weeks. And my mom knew it. I was sitting there for weeks like, when's he gonna call? When's he gonna call? Finally, my mom was like, he called the second day you were away and said that he'd love for you to come. And 2 things happened. First, I was pissed off at my mom, like, Mom, I've been sitting here for a month, come on. And then I was super excited because I could go. And at this school, I learned how to function in society despite my disability. I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean. Don't ask my mom, she'll tell you I'm lying. But I learned how to travel. I learned how to work. I played sports. I was such a basketball freak. I'd be on the court every day. And I became a person, like the person I wanted to be, that confident person. But of course, I still had my sight then. And like everyone else, high school for me was about finding out what you want to do. There was a point in time I convinced myself I wanted to be a marine biologist. Can you see me trying to get around the ocean? I can't even get around this room. I had to be a little realistic. So I decided I wanted to go off to journalism school. So I graduated high school, went along, and it was at that time when I entered university that I noticed that there was something changing, something different. And slowly, I moved into denial. I'm not losing my vision. I'm invincible. My eyesight's not gonna go anywhere. I'm just having a bad day. I'm tired. Oh, that vacuum wasn't there before. I just ran over it. Oh, sorry about that. Mom, can you please not leave the vacuum out? Thanks. And one day, I got engaged very young, and my fiance was also visually impaired. And when I finally came out of denials, I used to lead her around the mall. We'd go shopping, and just for something to do. And I started running her into those little tables and Sears that they just awkwardly put in the middle of the aisle because that's a good place for them. And I just ran into them, I ran her into them, and she was getting pissed. Like, are you trying to tell me something, Brandon? Like, is this your way of breaking up with me? Hey, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to run you into tables. Anyhow, so that relationship ended. There was a lot of toxicity in it, and I moved into another one that I thought was safe. A safe girl. She accepted me for who I was. Wasn't trying to change me or anything. And one day out of the blue, she ends it. She calls it quits. And at this time, my vision was gone, and it was not bad enough that I had that stigma in my head. Why would this person hire you? Why are you going to get a job after university? They could just hire someone who can see. They're not going to hire you. Give up. That's what my mind was telling me. And being in a safe relationship in a space where I could be myself was kind of getting me out of that. But then, as I said, this girl broke it off. And she fed me some, a little bit of story. And about a month later, she finally says to me, I have to be honest, the reason that I broke it off, because every time I saw my mother, she would complain that I cannot believe you're with this blind man. And that tore me apart, of course, as you can probably imagine. And I fell into depression, 8 months. I'd finished university at this time. I was telling my parents I was applying for jobs. Don't worry, I'll get out of my bedroom eventually. But I didn't. And I just sat there for 8 months doing nothing, playing text-based games like it's 1980 or something. And eventually my friend told me about this program specifically for disabilities. You go there and they help you find work. And I'm like, yeah, like every other employability program. Hand my resume, well, we'll call you. 2 years later, weren't you going to call me? Oh, yeah. So, of course I didn't believe. I was skeptical, but I went anyway, because I'm like, you know what? It's enough is becoming enough. So I went there, and it was here that I saw people who I perceived to be a lot worse off than I was, putting themselves out there, getting themselves work, and I'm like, I can do this too. So I began to sink back into myself, the confident person who was there, who I was in high school when I was playing sports and reading books and just able to step outside of my shell. I became that person again, slowly. And 2 months out of that program, I landed my first paying job, and I found myself. And it was at that point that I really started to come back into who I am. And I realized that my disability is not who I am, but simply a part of who I am. It makes up the amazingness that is me. You think this blind stuff is all bad. Fellas, let me tell you, everywhere I go, beautiful women offer me their elbows. One day not long ago. And I tell you this story because I'm one of the very few people who I feel have this mentality, who in the blind community anyway. So I was cleaning my room. And my desk was really dusty, and I'm like, okay, here, let me grab this can. Oh, compressed air, terrific, this is what I'm looking for. So I spray. It stops spraying. I'm like, what is going on? So I put my hand out on my desk, see what's going on. There are mounds of shaving cream on my desk. Mounds of it. I was trying to shave my desk. And I'm on the phone with my friend at this time, and I was telling my family, laughing, and my dad's like, did you use a duster or a razor? And I'm just like, well. And she's like, why are you telling your family this story? Stop it. I'm like, if you don't find me shaving my desk funny, we have nothing else to talk about. Nothing. And it was at this point that I realized that voice in my head, the whole nattering, why would they hire you? They're going to hire you because you have a good attitude. That's why they're going to hire you. You're going to make strides in life because you have a good attitude. That's why they're going to hire you. In that program I took, that employability program, there was one line that really stuck out. And it was, the only disability in life is a bad attitude. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. The only disability in life is a bad attitude. So it's not to say that I don't have fears, because I do. People say, how do you public speak? Oh, right, you can't see the crowd, that's why. No, that's not why. I tell you, instead of being fearful because I can see the crowd, this is what I worry about. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Schiafone, and that's happened. My first time speaking, the host came up and I was facing this way. He turned to me. He put his hand on my back and he turned to me, and I'm like, I just look over to where I think he might be. And I say, that's it? No dinner, no movie, just right to first base, huh? And I realized that I tell them, life is going to throw you some curveballs. You're going to run into a couple things from time to time. But what is happening, why not have a little bit of fun with it? Thank you, everybody. You've been wonderful. I love you all.